Hello everyone, my name is Rick from Bruggen from Neo Technology, and here I am again doing another recording for our podcast on Neo4j and graph databases. It's another remote session over Skype with someone that most of you probably don't know yet, but you should, and that's Andres Taylor from our dev team. Hi Andres.
Hi Rick.
Hey. Good to have you on the podcast. For those of you that don't know this yet, Andres is one of the leading developers on the Neo4j development team, and I can probably call you the inventor of Cypher, right, Andres?
Okay, you could say that.
Yeah. So would you mind introducing yourself a little bit, Andres?
Sure. So, like I said, I'm working in the dev team. I'm working on Cypher, the execution engine, that the thing that takes a Cypher query and actually runs it. I'm also the head of the Cypher language group, which is working with the language part, the user-facing side, the semantics of the language more than the implementation of the language.
All right. How long have you been with Neo, Andres?
This is my 4.5 years.
Wow, well, you're a veteran. Fantastic.
Yes.
Excellent. And you're based in Malmö, Sweden. Could you tell me a little bit about, what attracted you to graph databases, and what do you love about it? What do you love about Cypher as well? That's also really a cool thing for our listeners, I think.
I'll give it a try. So before I joined Neo, I had two things that I had done a lot, which were either agile consulting or databases.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time working as a DBA, performance tuning people's databases.
You mean a SQL DBA then?
SQL database administrator, especially on Microsoft SQL Server.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
So I would go in and help people with their queries and make them fast. And when I started working with Neo4j, I was blown away by the data structures, the access paths that you could take through your data. It opened up ways of looking and working with the data that a SQL database just couldn't give you.
Okay, this was an early version of Neo at the time, yeah?
I think I joined, the first commit that was included in a Neo4j release was 1.2, I think.
Oh wow. Okay, interesting. So the access path, you mean the power of the queries, right? Is that what I'm sort of hearing?
Well, not really. So
okay,
that was the problem. That when I started looking at Neo4j and working with Neo4j, it was very, very quick. It was super easy to write really performant queries,
okay.
But the queries needed a lot of hand-holding. You had to do a lot of the work that for someone coming from a SQL background, the planner does for you.
Ah, okay. That was the imperative approach to queries. Is that right?
Exactly. The traversal framework that was the main use of querying databases before Cypher is something that it's very imperative in nature. You describe where to start, you describe which paths to go through and where you want to end up and when to do filtering, stuff like that. You have to make an explicit decision around. And so that's where I started. I thought it was awesome in performance power, but it was kind of difficult to work with, and especially when you came back to the code, the traversal code after you've written it, you kind of couldn't hold it in your head while you were writing it, but then coming back to it, it was really difficult to understand what you were thinking at the time.
So I feel the birth of a declarative query language coming up here.
Yes.
How did that come about? Tell us about that.
Cypher was the third attempt I did at a query language. So first I started by doing a DSL in Java to try to express your queries in a little bit higher level than what the traversal framework gave you.
Okay.
But that was super difficult and not pretty at all. And then I did a JavaScript wrapper around the API, so you could get a REPL. You could go in and try your queries live without having to write a little program.
Okay.
And I added a little bit of sugar around the graph database API, but still it was not very useful. And then we started sending a text file around with examples of how do you wish you could express your queries. I know it was me and Matthias were working with. There was a couple of people in the office. No one really took it seriously because none of the clients were using it or were interested in it, and it was difficult to get any interest from higher ups in the organization. It was not something we were selling at the time.
Yeah, and I seem to remember that there was something with Scala as well.
Right. So because it wasn't a super important project from the from the organization, it was something that we spent. I spent the 20% time that we'd got and weekends and evenings working on this stuff. And if I'm working evenings, I'm not working in Java.
Okay.
So I looked around. I was looking for something better than Java. I worked in Clojure, but Clojure was very far away from Java. So, well, Scala it was.
Okay. And so you wrote, and still write, the Cypher part of Neo4j in Scala, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All the compiling of a query is done in Scala.
Super. Very cool. Okay, so that's very interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about the future, Andres? You know, where is your part of Neo4j and where is Cypher going? Would you mind sharing a little bit of a light on that?
Sure. So the language changed a lot in the first few versions, and since the 2.0 release, it's stabilized quite a lot. We have not added a lot of constructs to the language. We haven't added many new functions or features to it. And instead, we've been focusing on making what we have run as quickly as possible.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how pretty a language you have. If it runs slowly, no one's going to use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what we spent big parts, most of 2014 working on, and that should be visible in the 2.2 release coming up now.
Yeah.
And in the immediate future, we have more of that. There's more performance stuff that we want to do. We want to look at, hopefully we want to get to generating code for execution plans and compiling it. That should give a nice performance boost.
Okay. Is that a little bit like a stored procedure type thing, or am I reading that wrong?
No. So the product of the compiling is something that you can run. And when you run code, you can either run it in an interpreted mode or a compiled mode. You've heard those terms before.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
What we have today is an interpreted version of Cypher. We build up a tree structure and we execute that tree structure. And we need to interpret it every time we come across it. What we want to do instead is to actually generate Java code, which we dynamically compile and load and execute.
Super interesting. Okay, so that should give us a big boost in performance. Any other, big things that are coming up in the future, you think?
So that's from the implementation perspective. That's something that we've spent quite a bit of time on. Yep. We're interested in how to distribute this and into running more either servers or threads on it. So for long running queries, not for the short-lived ones that just take a couple of milliseconds. There's not much point in distributing it.
No. But things like PageRank and between these calculations, those types of things you're talking about, right? Exactly,
and analytical queries.
Yes.
So that's something that we've talked about, thought of. And then in the on the other side of things is we want to add more indexes. We have we want to add text searching. We want to do stuff around dates. There's a lot of features that we've spent a lot of time making the engine run smoothly.
Yep.
And now I think it's time to start adding new bells and whistles to the language as well.
Super cool. Hey, Andres, there's so many things we could talk about. I do want to keep these podcasts a little short and snappy. So, any other final remarks that you want to give our listeners, or should we keep it at this? What do you think?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Very cool. Well, in any case, I really thank you so much for coming online and doing this little recording with me. It's super nice. And
thank you for having me, Rick.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I look forward to all the wonderful things that you guys are working on. It's made a big boost in 2.2, and I'm sure it's going to be even better in the future. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.